Hello and welcome to episode number 22 of That's Awesome.tv. I'm your host Scott Abishan. I'm here with my buddy Chad. And if you didn't see the last episode, 21, you can check it out on YouTube or at the URL below. We were talking last time where we showed his Jeep off. It's an 07 JK. We talked about installing a bumper. And it was a popular episode, so I decided to take a little bit more of a tech twist on it. Because there's one problem that's been kind of nagging you about the Jeep when it's got these large 37-inch tires on it.
Correct. Aftermarket tires, size-wise, throws everything off, not just the speedometer, but shift points, and
the computer's confused.
Yeah, everything's messed up,
so,
in my opinion.
Yeah. So we decided to take action on it, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. There's a lot of different computer aftermarket things you can splice together with the wires and affect the way the computer's calibrated. But a lot of them are convoluted. A lot of them you can really do some damage to your car or the computer. So we found by American Expedition Vehicles the ProCal Module. This is simple. We've already kind of tested it. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to show you how to change. It does a lot of different things. It does the large tire calibration, axle gear ratio calibration. It can change the default idle, the RPMs for the idle, a slew of different things that you can see on their website. We're going to go over those basic things I just mentioned, and it's really just plug and play. It comes in some nice packaging here. It comes with a real quick reference guide. Basically, all there is to it is it's just kind of like a USB stick almost. At least that's how I akin it to. Comes in some nice anti-static. It's a device that you plug into the OBD right underneath the dashboard. You basically set some dip switches on there that are covered in this quick reference guide, which is great.
Very clear.
Very clear, simple. I mean, we were amazed at how quick we changed the tire size.
Yep.
And recalibrated. The
5
horn,
minutes.
You plug it in, you set the dip switch, you plug it in, the horn honks a couple times, and you're good to go. It's
done.
It's so quick. It's as quick as plugging it in. You're like, is that all? Did it happen that quick? So basically, in this episode, we're going to go up. We're going to show you a few different things to recalibrate on the computer, mainly the tire size, and we're going to test it out. We're going to proof it out. We got hooked up with some local law enforcement.
Yes, we did.
And we are going to detect the speed before calibration. We'll do a little in camera and on the laser detection.
Yep. Where we're at now, or is before we did this.
Before we did this,
way off. I know it's way off, but.
And then what it's like after recalibrated with the ProCal. And then also show you changing the idle speeds with the dimmer switch. It's a really cool feature if you do winching or use any accessory that needs more power than the default idle. So we're just kind of going to go through the basics of this device and show you how cool it is. Our friends at American Expedition hooked us up with this, and it's a great little device. And for the price, $129, the cheapest thing on the market for changing it and not screwing it up. Yep. And one of the cool features is you can go right back to the factory defaults by changing the dip switches to a factory setting. So that's really awesome because in case you got to take it in for a warranty repair, not that it would probably matter, but it's cool that you can get it back to the way it was.
It's actually nice to be able to just put it back in there to see what the difference was.
Yeah, we were doing that today. Yeah, change it back and forth, back and forth. It's very, very cool. So I'm not going to waste time jabbering. We're going to go up, we're going to show you how to use it, we're going to show you the steps because there were a couple questions, especially on the idle, on how to use it exactly. Yep. So we'll show you all that stuff and how awesome it is. Awesome tech project. Let's go. Alright, so we're up at the vehicle and we've got, this is again a 2007 JK. The computer has not been reset yet, and you can see obviously the vehicle's lifted up. It's got 37-inch Pitbull rocker tires on there. So we need to configure the ProCal device for that exact size tire. The first thing that you have to do though is don't take the manufacturer spec on the size tire. Measure the diameter of the tire from the ground up, and you'll quickly see that if you put a straight edge across and measure that, these actually came out to 35.5. So it's a little bit different than 37. So when you go to calibrate the device or you set up the dip switches on the ProCal, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you have the exact measurements correct. Okay, so I've unpacked the ProCal device that we kind of showed earlier. All the dip switches are set to down. I've also pulled out the ProCal Quick Reference Guide. This is great. It's really simple. It takes you step by step of the majority of the features on how to set those up. And it also gives you instructions on how to actually plug it in, but we're going to go over that. So if we look at detailed diagram, or if we look at this close up, and I bring in, the first thing we're going to do is change the tire sizes. We already took the measurements, which are 35.5. So the first thing we need to do in step 1 is we need to set the dip switches to down, down, up. And that's for tire sizes between 24 and 38 inches. The next step, we have to do a little math equation, real simple. We put in the measurement that we took, which is 35.5. We minus that by 24, which equals 11.5. So in box A is 11, and box B is 0.5. And the next step, it clearly shows you, it says, okay, we're in step 3, you've done the first 2, so that means the first 3 dip switches are going to be set like they are in step 1. And then in the next 4 dip switches are going to be based off that first number in box A. So that's going to be, for my tires, it's going to be up, down, up, up. And then in the last step, it's going to be from box B. So we're going to, ours was 35 or 11.5, so 0.50 is up, down. All right, so we've got the ProCal device all configured. All the dip switches are set as you saw. We're underneath the dash here. The OBD port is right there. The only thing we're going to have to do is switch the ignition switch to the on position, 2 clicks forward, and we should be able to just go ahead and plug this in, and we'll hear the hong sound twice. I told you it was quick. And there we go. Now it is fully calibrated for my size tires that we measured and did that little formula on. Now I kind of jumped the gun. The first thing I want to do is I want to prove to you how far this is off. I set it back to the default, or I restored the settings, and it's actually a good point for me to make right here, because the ProCal device, what happens is it stores your VIN number on here. When you connect it for the first time and recalibrate something, it stores the VIN on here. So don't think that you can take this and you can set yours, set your buddies, set everybody else's. The only way that you can use this on a different vehicle is if you restore it. So what I've done is if you set the first 3 dip switches down and the last of them up and plug it in, it'll honk 3 times, and it actually restores it back to the factory settings, which is a good thing to have. So I've done that, and now I'm going to do it. We're going to do a quick test first and actually show you, prove to you how far it is off. And then I'll recalibrate it like I just showed you a minute ago, back to the proper tire size, and we'll do the test again. Alright, so this is stock out of the box, or once we put the big tires on, no change in the speedometer at all. This is just what it's reporting. So we're going to get up and set our baseline at 50, or what the car is saying we're doing 50. So we're passing 40. Okay, so now I'm doing what the car says is 50. With the larger tires on it. And the officer is reporting me at 57. Okay, so we've recalibrated the device, or we've recalibrated for this size tires. We're going to pull out. We're going to do a second test. I'm going to peg it at 50, set the cruise. I've got the officer doing the radar at the bottom of the hill here, and we'll see how accurate it is. Going through 40. We're up. We're approaching 50. Now we are right at 50 miles an hour on the speedo, and we're coming up to the officer. What do you got me at?
49.
49.
With the angle I'm shooting at, it's going to be exactly 50. 51, 49.
And there we have it.
Locked on at 49 miles per hour.
Locked on. Video evidence. As you can see, it does make a big difference. I mean, you're talking 8 miles an hour. That's huge. And it's not only just the speedometer, but it's also the shift points, which also results in the overall fuel economy of the vehicle. So, I mean, it was revving huge at 40 miles an hour, way more than it should. And then when you get to 50, it's always fighting with that overdrive because it thinks it's going into 60. It's a bad position. So that's a great feature. You saw how simple it was, real easy. The next thing we're going to do is show you a real cool feature if you're into if you have a winch or you need that extra boost of power at idle, this can change the default idle settings. So we're going to go to the runtime functions. Again, the quick reference guide or the that comes with it is great. It shows you step by step. Here's where you got to start your dip switches. Here's where you got to set them for different types of configurations. So under runtime functions, we're going to go to it says set the first, in step 1, set the first 3 dip switches as shown. So we're going to go up, up, down, which is easy as that. And then the extended idle is what we're going to use, and that's all, the rest of them are all down. Now this one is a little bit, I shouldn't say it's tricky, but there's a little bit more involved than just turning it into on and plugging it in. There's no audible sound. What we're going to actually end up doing is we're going to turn the engine on, and then we're going to leave it in park, or you could do this in neutral. We're going to press down and we're going to lift the brake lever up just one click so it's engaged and I see the brake light that's on. I'm going to set the internal dimmer switch on the multifunction switch here just midway. I've got my ProCal set up, and with it on I'm going to plug it in. Alright, so now that that's on, we can see that I do not have my feet on the pedal. If I go all the way up with the dimmer, it takes me up to 2,000 RPM. I go one click down, takes it down a few hundred, another click down, takes it down a few hundred more. So you're using that dimmer with the ProCal still plugged in, you're using that dimmer to control the default idle speed. It maxes out at 2,000 and it will only stay like that for a maximum of 10 minutes. Now to get out of that mode, just press on the brake, release it, and it'll go right back. And then we can just unplug the ProCal. Alright, so as you can see, pretty simple, pretty awesome. I mean, in my world, when I look at things, I love convenient things like this.
Simplicity.
Simplicity is, it's like set and forget it.
Right, right.
I hate to steal the famous infomercial, whoever that was. I hope they don't have it trademarked.
Right.
But seriously, I mean, 2 seconds to switch it, it's worth every penny in my book, because there's nothing worse than getting a device, especially some of the stuff that I was looking at researching, getting something like that, figuring out how to hook it in, and then figuring out how to execute all the commands to get the computer to, no. Go to AEV-conversions.com, get yourself a ProCal, and life is easy.
Plug it in, it honks a couple times, and
you're done. You're
right.
done. You're getting better gas mileage. The thing will pay for itself in the first month. Well, I don't know. I can't guarantee it, but
right.
I gotta imagine that if you're not running, the right ratios, everything you've been burning gas like nobody's business.
I have been complaining about it,
but now.
It's nice to know actually how fast you're going to. Really, it is.
That's always good, yeah, because it was off. So, anyway, very cool stuff, very cool company. I mean, their stuff is top notch, I have to say. The packaging, the fit and finish of just this little product, I was totally impressed. Awesome, very awesome. Cool technical project. Okay, that's it for episode number 22. Sorry for the long delay. I know it's been about 8 or 9 weeks, but hopefully we'll get back on track. If you want to send me an email, send that to scott@thatsawesome.tv. Check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/Scott Abishan. Subscribe to the show on iTunes. You can just search for thatsawesome.tv. And that's it.